Celebrating excellence, the Answer McCall Foundation honors some of the region's finest. Weekend Business Report starts right now. Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Camille Gale. Thanks for joining us. Every now and then on WBR, we highlight some of the people making a positive impact across the region in various fields. This week, we'll introduce you to 5 of them. More on that in a bit, but right now, here are some of the top news stories BATV brought you this week. The Bank of Jamaica has reduced the interest rate on overnight deposits. The central bank says the decision was made based on its forecast of lower inflation over the next 4 quarters. Sashana Small reports.
The Bank of Jamaica, BOJ, has lowered its policy interest rate by 25 basic points to 2.5%. This, the central bank said, is based on its projection that inflation for the next 4 quarters will fall slightly below the lower end of its target of 4% to 6% before increasing towards the center of the target in the following quarter. The BOJ said this projection reflects the impact of the large fall in agricultural food prices, which caused a fall in the Consumer Price Index in the March 2018 quarter. Inflation will also be impacted by increases in crude oil prices. The BOJ added that projections show a modest acceleration in economic growth, and domestic demand is expected to remain restrained by continued fiscal consolidation. Meanwhile, the central bank noted that the major downside risk to inflation are weaker than anticipated domestic demand and slower than anticipated global economic growth caused by geopolitical tensions and protectionist policy. And the upside risk to inflation include higher than anticipated commodity prices, particularly the price of crude oil. This decision was also made against the background of positive macroeconomic indicators, increasing net international reserves, and the current account of the balance of payment, while projected to widen, will remain at sustainable levels. Market interest rates are also at record lows, and falling and fiscal performance continues to be strong.
A public sensitization campaign is expected to be rolled out in the coming months as the government of Jamaica moves to impose a ban on single-use plastic bags and styrofoam. Jamila Maitland tells us more.
Minister Vaz says the issue of improper disposal of plastic bags, bottles and styrofoam has been a growing concern for the country. He says almost 100% of all plastic bags and bottles end up in the drains, gullies, and on the island's beaches, with only a minute amount being recycled.
We use and dispose of almost 1 billion PET bottles annually, equivalent to 350 bottles per Jamaican each year. Currently, Mr. Speaker, only 10% of these bottles are captured for recycling and export. Most of the 90% remainder is disposed of along with other household waste.
The minister says the bottles, bags, and styrofoam eventually cause flooding, diseases, and pose a significant threat to marine life.
Mr. Speaker, the improper disposal of this waste is not only unsightly but blocks drains, causing flooding during rainfall and creating breeding sites for mosquitoes.
Meanwhile, Government Senator Matthew Samuda, who piloted the plastic and styrofoam ban, says the move is expected to transform waste management on the island. However, he acknowledges that it will take some time.
There's a process of consultation, a process of advisement, a process of public education. There is major change coming to our plastic waste situation, but you kind of have to ride out the process. The manufacturers are very well aware of the changes that are coming, and they've been pushed.
In the meantime, Minister Vaz says the government will do all it can to reduce Jamaica's carbon footprint.
The question of a ban for plastic bags and styrofoam is not an if, it is a when. And Mr. Speaker, I would go further to say it is going to be sooner rather than later.
After months of back and forth, the wage agreement between the government and the island's teachers has been signed. Here's Javon Keys.
After multiple discussions, rejected wage proposals has sickled all that for today, the signing of the heads of agreement with regards to the pay increase for teachers.
And even after that lengthy process, on the day of the signing, they were still making last-minute changes. Journalists had to wait for 2 hours as the signing, which was scheduled to start at 10 a.m., only got underway at minutes past 12. This Finance and Public Service Minister Dr. Nigel Clark said was due to the last-minute editorial changes which had to be made. In the meantime, President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, Georgia Wall Richards, said despite the challenging process, the teachers' union made the right decision for its members.
The process has been long and hard, but today, here we are. We've listened to the voices of the teachers of Jamaica, and we've acted according to their wishes. And so we look forward to future collaborations and discussions as it relates to the well-being of the teachers of Jamaica.
Minister Clark said his ministry is pleased to have reached an agreement with the teachers, which will see the 16% increase being rolled out incrementally over the next 4 years.
We are pleased to have reached an agreement with the Jamaica Teachers Association regarding wage and salary benefits for the contract period 2017 to 2021. The agreement, as far as the wages and salaries are concerned, increases of 5%, 2%, 4%, and 5% in the final year.
Meanwhile, when asked what made this offer different from the others, the JTA head said better fringe benefits broke the deal. However, she refused to elaborate.
We had brought the offer to the teachers of Jamaica, and we all agreed that the 4-year contract period would hold, but there are other items of fringe benefit that had seen improvements, and based on that, the teachers decided that it was now time to accept.
And can you mention any of those fringe benefits?
I don't think that at this point I'm at liberty to say.
She added that teachers should receive retroactive payments by the end of next month.
It is our expectation that by the end of June, that these payments will be in effect and they would be retroactive to April 1, 2018.
Moving on now, last weekend, the Ansa McCall Foundation honored a few outstanding individuals who are making a valuable contribution to the development of the region. They were honored at the Anthony Sabga Caribbean Awards for Excellence. The awards were given in the category of arts and letters, science and technology, entrepreneurship, and public and civic contribution. This year's Science and Technology awardee was Trinidadian scientist Dr. Adish Ramsubag. His career in the area of microbiology and biotechnology has contributed significantly to science and technology in Trinidad and Tobago and the region. His research is aimed at addressing problems impacting humans and the environment. His work on microorganisms has produced exciting results that, if supported by further research, can lead to the development of pharmaceuticals, an export-driven industry estimated at a current value of $1 trillion.
My work basically focuses on the search for novel drugs from indigenous microorganisms found in our tropical environment. So far we have been, getting some very, very interesting findings. So for instance, we have about maybe almost a dozen novel compounds, and we are in the process of patenting at least one of them so far. And it would have a very significant impact in the treatment of antibiotic-resistant infectious diseases.
He wants governments across the region to do more to fund research.
I'm feeling happy, obviously. It's important to recognize the efforts made for the advancement of science and technology in the region, which, I think it has a lot of potential. And hopefully the regional governments and other agencies would be able to significantly fund research in this area in the future.
Siobhan and Noel Joseph's pediatric cancer support group, the Just Because Foundation, JBF, came out of their experience of losing a child to cancer. When 3.5-year-old Jabez J.B. Joseph was diagnosed in 2005 with a rare form of childhood cancer, his parents, Siobhan and Noel, worked tirelessly to help him defeat the disease. Tragically, Jabez passed away 2 years later, and in 2007 they launched the Just Because Foundation.
We think that no family should have to be alone when they get the news of their child being diagnosed with cancer. So we are there for them to make sure that they don't have to be alone.
They are the 2018 awardees for public and civic contributions.
It's still unreal, oh my gosh, but it's an amazing achievement because, as we were discussing earlier, there's so many people in the Caribbean who are doing really good work. So to be shortlisted and then chosen, it's an awesome feeling.
Yeah, and it really propels you to do more. It really propels you to see how much more you can accomplish if you're acknowledged at this level. It's kind of like the impetus to keep going on behalf of all the families, all the children. So this is just literally the word excellence, I think, is really what it's about, to help you to strive to achieve even greater excellence on a regional scale. I think that's the phenomenal part of it. It's no longer just about Trinidad and Tobago, but it's literally looking at what can you do for the Caribbean.
Guyanese microbiologist William Andrew Boyle is a medical services entrepreneur. He is the founder of the Eureka Medical Lab in Guyana, which provides state-of-the-art services to the country and the region. He has also diversified the lab and his general business enterprise in other directions like green energy and food production. He copped the award for entrepreneurship. Eureka Medical Lab is the premier international accredited lab in Guyana, one of only 5 such in the Caribbean.
I feel on top of the world. I'm on cloud 9 right now. It is a tremendous feeling. In fact, I'm very humbled to accept this award, and I hope that it would serve as a catalyst, especially for the youngsters, those especially underprivileged youngsters, to tell them, look, listen, whatever you dream, whatever you want to be, you can be. And you just have to work hard and work diligently, work smart, and be honest, and the world is yours.
Kai Miller is a Jamaican poet, writer, and scholar. In his career, he has produced 3 novels, a short story collection, 4 poetry collections, and a book of essays and prophecies. He has won many awards for his writing, most significantly the Forward Prize for Poetry in 2014, the premier accolade in the UK and Ireland for established and emerging poets, now in its 23rd year. He is the first writer from the Caribbean and person of color to win the prize. However, winning the Arts and Letters category at the 2018 Anthony Sabga Awards for Excellence was extra special.
I think it's always special to get an award from the Caribbean. I mean, you get awards from other places, but I've always seen my job as writing the Caribbean, and so to get an award from that space is always, it's more meaningful than other kinds of prizes. I guess I'm always working on projects. There are always books in the pipeline. The most pressing project is a book of essays called The Most Important Things, so that will be the newest, the book that will come out next.
Company news comes up next, then later. It's the audio clip that broke the internet.
Laurel.
So, did you hear Laurel or Yanni? We'll tell you why people are hearing different things. More WBR after this break. Welcome back to Weekend Business Report. Here's Javon Keys with this week's company news.
Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances is reporting a drop in sales for the last quarter, which ended on March 31. The company says the decline in sales was due to the slow recovery of the economy from weather shocks in the second half of 2017. The company sold $88.7 million compared to the $88.8 million it sold in the same period last year. Meanwhile, Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances says it hopes the economy will continue to recover and its new sugar replacement substitute Flavor Fit will drive revenue in the upcoming quarter. Fastwitch Company Limited has doubled its net profit for the first quarter of 2018, recording $30.8 million as at March 31. The Energy and Lighting Distribution Company recorded some $15.2 million in net profits during the first quarter of 2017, but since then the company has seen significant improvements, raking in almost $31 million this year, a 100% increase. The company registered more than $250 million in revenues during the period, while racking up almost $128 million in gross profits. Minister of Technology Dr. Andrew Whitley says his ministry is currently reviewing documents submitted by Symbiote Investments, which trades as Carousel. The telecommunications company is appealing the revocation of its license. Carousel's license was revoked last month after it was reported that the company failed to provide information requested by the Office of Utilities Regulations (OUR). The OUR then recommended that the minister revoked their license.
Thanks a lot, Javon. Let's now take a look at the closing numbers from the major stock markets around the world. When we come back, more of the top news stories BATV brought you this week, so stay with us. Welcome back to Weekend Business Report. More news now. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says that the $15 billion bond obtained by the National Water Commission NWC will make the entity an asset suitable for long-term investments. The bond was arranged by the National Commercial Bank Capital Market. Sashana Small has more.
Very important to understand that pension funds and insurance funds need long-term real assets to back their cash. They literally need that, because if you're considering pensions, which are for payments in decades to come, you need assets that will generate revenue for decades to come. And where are many of these assets? Many of these assets are in the government. They are in infrastructure, like water and roads and transportation and electricity.
The Prime Minister says most of the revenue the NWC collects from water bills is used to pay high-interest US dollar debts. Because of this, it had incurred many losses over the years. But the bond will make it more financially viable, and the NWC will be able to do more projects.
Making the NWC financially stronger allows it to take on more capital projects. A significant part of this $50 billion will be to finance capital projects. Lay pipes, do sewage, do water treatment, and repairs. That means that people who I see in East Rural St. Andrew, people who I hear complaining all over Jamaica that they don't have water, the NWC is in a better position to provide that. But more than that, because it is now a financially viable asset, it does not have to depend on government support or revenue to do it.
Meanwhile, Chief Executive Officer of NCB Capital Markets, Stephen Gooden, says the bond, which has no government guarantee, is an indication of the willingness of the private sector to create solutions that will facilitate a thriving economy.
Solutions like these will definitely go a far way in helping the government of Jamaica improve its debt profile while not stifling productivity of state-owned entities as they seek to raise debt capital.
Under the arrangement, the NWC will have immediate access to $12.5 billion to refinance foreign loans and $3 billion to undertake projects island-wide. The remaining $2.49 billion from the issue will be received in 2 months if the NWC meets the conditions of stipulated targets relating to its on-revenue water reduction program in Kingston and St. Andrew, and the implementation of high-performance digital water meters.
The government is being encouraged to consider another oil hedge, this as geopolitical tensions continue to heighten, increasing volatility in the global oil market. Jamila Maitland tells us more.
Third Vice President of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, JCC, Keith Collister, says the rising oil prices are becoming a concern for the organization. He's therefore encouraging the government to actively monitor the trend and consider another hedging program.
The issue of hedging should come back on the table. I think the government was right to stop the hedge because it was a relatively at the time. However, now we are in a different time over the last few months. In particular, you're in a world of heightened geopolitical tension. Venezuela is basically in the process of collapsing, it seems. So something I think that we should now put back on the table. That doesn't necessarily mean that we should start a hedging program, but we have a new finance minister. I think he has some expertise in the area, and I'm sure that he'll, as one of his first jobs, he'll start looking at the issue again.
Meanwhile, opposition spokesperson on finance, Mark Golding, says the PNP administration foresaw rising oil prices then, one that has since been diminished by the government's reckless move to provide what he described as the 1.5 election gimmick. He argues that by doing this, the Holness administration has left Jamaica fully exposed to a very unstable geopolitical climate, with no protections from the ravages of an unstable world oil market. However, Bank of Jamaica Governor Brian Winter, who appeared before last week's Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, said although oil prices are rising, there is a far greater concern.
That in terms of thinking about the protection for the overall economy, or the buffers that allow the economy to be able to weather any sharp change in the oil price, and this change is not what I would not include in that. Big as it is, this is not the shock that we have to be worried about. It's when it goes much more and it does it suddenly and stays there. We haven't seen that yet.
But he said the net international reserves, which currently stands at $3.1 billion, though not at the adequate amount, should be enough to buffer the economy in the event of continued rising oil prices.
But importantly, in this current program, a key value of the precautionary quantity that is available to be drawn of 1.6 billion is that we have the means to supplement that 3.7 with the 1.6. Well, it accumulates as we go through the various test dates to give us that buffer during the program. So from a macro point of view, being able to weather sudden shocks to the oil price that impact balance of payments, we have that, I think, well covered at a reasonable cost.
Join me in Jamaica. That's the name of the new digital marketing campaign launched by the Jamaica Tourist Board aimed at promoting Destination Jamaica. Here's more. The Join Me in Jamaica campaign features promotional videos which showcase snippets of Jamaican culture through the eyes of local celebrities. They share stories about why they love Jamaica while inviting visitors to join them on the island.
Living in Jamaica is an experience that you cannot put in words. There's an energy in the atmosphere that just feels good. There's so many aspects of Jamaica that I think makes it second to none. The best food, the best music, the best people. We can go on and on about the good things about living in Jamaica.
Tourism Minister Ed Bartlett says this is part of the ministry's mandate to utilize more technology to market Jamaica.
We're going to use technology as a driving force to develop a capacity to manage, measure, and be in total command of our market. Because prior to this, we spent money in advertising, but we couldn't measure the returns.
This technology, he says, will drive tourism growth by reaching more people all over the world. It will also complement other forms of advertising that targets legacy markets.
We will never desert our legacy markets. That's the basis of the sustainability of Jamaica. And that's the 42% repeat business which we have, which makes us the #1 destination in the Western world.
The campaign targets a diverse audience, especially lovers of Jamaican music, cuisine, art, and sport icons. It is designed to engage consumers to keep Destination Jamaica top of mind. When we come back, so what do you hear, Laurel or Yanni?
Laurel. Laurel.
It's a debate that we'll try to settle after the break. Welcome back to Weekend Business Report. This audio clip threw the internet into a frenzy this week. Some people heard the word Laurel while others heard Yanni. So why are people hearing different things?
Laurel. Laurel.
Big debate, splitting the internet in two. Everyone is taking sides, some on Team Yanni, others on Team Laurel.
The story that's tearing the country apart.
Laurel. Laurel.
It is Laurel and not Yanni.
The answer is Yanni.
Even the legendary performer who shares one of the names weighed in.
Yanni.
It's perhaps the biggest internet controversy since the great white and gold, or blue and black, dress debate of 2015. So, which one is it? If you said Laurel, you're technically correct.
I thought I was losing it.
Last Friday, Georgia high school student Katie Hetzel was studying the word laurel for her literature class and decided to research it on vocabulary.com.
I clicked the audio button to tell me word spell, and I heard Yanni, and I was like, this isn't one of my vocabulary words.
The high school freshman posted her findings to Instagram. Soon enough, the internet worked its magic and the debate turned explosive. So, we decided to conduct our own experiment.
What do you hear?
Indisputably, Yammy.
Indisputably.
Yes.
No controversy.
No controversy.
Okay, what do you hear?
She's crazy. It's Laurel.
Linguist Ben Zimmer.
People who are more attuned to the high frequencies are picking up on things that make it sound more like Yanni. If you're not picking up on those higher frequencies, then it sounds more like Laurel.
Laurel. Laurel.
And that's where we leave things this week. On behalf of the entire Weekend Business Report team, I'm Keneal. See you next time.